Okay, we are at Jack Rose's premier event, actually called Premier Drams. It happens once a year. Super excited for it this year. Last year was an absolute blast. Some of the vendors brought out their LE bottles, some bottles that hadn't been released yet. So let's go jump in and see what they got this year. Hello, that's me there trying to use my latest purchase for making videos on YouTube, a gimbal. However, this is probably the only shot with this gimbal. Once I got inside, it was an absolute catastrophe. I am very technologically challenged, so if you guys have any tips on how to use these things, please let me know. First booth we stopped at here is from Bardstown. They had a couple new releases at the time, the Disco 12 and their new weeded bourbon, both absolutely fantastic. And then also owned by the same company, Green River. My favorites here were the Foolproof and the Single Barrel. These single barrels, if you can find them in your area and find a store you trust, they are some fantastic pours for the value. Proof and Wood here is a local NDP in the DC area. They have some cool logos here representing the area with the representative, the senator. Those are definitely good single barrel picks if you can find them. Now, I didn't try any of these Compass boxes, bottles, but this is a question I constantly struggle with each time I go to these events is, do I go to the booths that I know I'm gonna like? I haven't had their new release, but it's an expression that I normally love, or do I go outside the box and try some more scotches, international whiskeys, just to expand my palate? This time I didn't, just because you have such a limited time. Also, you can only drink so much whiskey before you kind of lose your taste buds. But let me know in the comments below what you would do. Here's some products from Old Line, local here in the Maryland area, and this was put on the map this year from Fred Minnick by putting their Double Oak in his top whiskeys of the year. Now, the booth that is always a fan favorite, Found North, they have some of the best Canadian whiskey. This is definitely a booth you want to try if you go to an event, because you will learn very quickly if you are a Canadian whiskey fan. Now, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but this is the perfect type of event to figure out if these type of bottles, given the price point, are worth it for you. So next we're going to go down into the second level of the Imperial. This is where they do their blind guessing game every year. They have roughly, I think, like 6 different bottles, and you need to try and guess the brand. They'll take even bonus points, maybe proof or whatnot if there's a tie. But this is a fun little side game to do at the event to test your tasting prowess. Next, we're going to go into the embasement of the Imperial. Sorry if some of the pictures are a little dark down here. The lighting isn't perfect, but the first booth on the left here is probably my favorite booth that was down here in the basement, and it was Seal Boxes, specifically because they had the Seal Box 15 Batch 1. This was one of the better pours that I've had at this event. It was absolutely fantastic. Quintessentially what buff turkey should be. If you haven't had a taste of it, definitely go hunt that bottle out. Here's some more scotches that I did not try at the event today, but I've heard great things about Springbank. People keep saying if you're gonna try a scotch, this is what you should try. So maybe next year I'll give these a shot. Here's one of my new favorite brands, Pursuit Spirits. If you have not had their Pursuit United Double Oak Bourbon, go out and get it. That is one of the best double oaks on the market right now. And then Pursuit LeDroit brought some really old Armagnac. This is really cool to try. Not necessarily a bottle that I want to buy, but just to be able to try bottles that are that old is a really cool experience. Prestige is a distributor of different brands in different regions, and these are some of the brands that Prestige distributes in this DMV area. Now here's a brand that can be hit or miss depending on the price point. But if you can find their Barrel Foundation bottle, those are great price points. It wasn't here today, but it has a great value for $50. Probably one of the more popular tables of the night was the Rare Character table. They brought some hitters. You can see here 2 Brook Hills. They had a bourbon and a rye out. Fantastic pours. Not necessarily for the price point. I don't think I would buy them. But again, this is an event, is a great event to be able to try these bottles to see if it's worth it for you. And then they had a couple other single barrels here on the right. Okay, we're finally moving over into the Jack Rose building. This is the first floor, the main tasting area for the bar they have. And this was the booth with the longest line at the event. And there is a reason why. They had absolute hitters here, 17-year, 19-year-old bourbon. These were absolutely fantastic. I cannot believe I was able to try these bottles. And if you look on the back here, you'll see how small of a yield these barrels had. Being able to try something that old with that small of a yield was a great highlight of the event. But one of my tips for the Jack Rose event is if you want to try the Willet, go to it first at the event because it has the longest line, and you will spend 40 minutes of your few hours at this event in line for the Willet if it is something you want to do. Like previous year, I didn't even go to the Willet table because it would have taken like a third of the whole time at the event just to get through the line. So if you want to do Willet, definitely go there first to try and avoid the line. Now this is probably my favorite booth that I visited at the event. It is Kentucky Center. If you see these bottles, definitely buy it, especially the green label and the orange label. Those are 7 and 9-year-old Barton. They were absolutely fantastic. And unfortunately with my camera work here, you can't really see the guys that well, but these were some of the funnest people to talk to. If they have a booth at an event you're ever at, definitely stop by and talk to them. They were just a blast to chill and talk to for, I think I spent maybe 30 minutes there. Here's a local brand that has been picking up some steam. I've always avoided them because I am not the biggest single malt fan, but let me know if I should give them a try next time. Now, Sir Davis was a very hot bottle at the time of this event. Me personally, I am not the biggest fan, but there's definitely a loyal following for this bottle. Uncle Nearest is another brand I've been hearing good things about. Unfortunately, with time, I just didn't get to try their bottles, but it's definitely a brand I'm gonna look to try next time. Now the Peerless Station was a really cool spot because they brought some of their unique finishing bottles, and that's what I love about going to these events is you get to try these bottles that I necessarily wouldn't buy in person, like the absinthe bottle or these other weird finishes. They're just not something I want a full bottle of, but they're cool bottles to try at these events. I was a little disappointed Beam didn't bring any of their bourbons. They are pumping out a ton of different LE brands, and it would have been fun to try all those different brands, so hopefully next time they bring them. And now we're moving on to the Rooftop here. Great place to come in the springtime to get a cocktail. Absolutely beautiful. The Rooftop had a bunch of international whiskeys. I didn't get up here until closer to the end of the event, so I was running out of time and wasn't able to stop at each of these bars and try their different pours. But maybe next time, let me know if there's any of these brands that you recommend to me to prioritize next time, because I definitely do want to expand my horizons in the future. I was late getting to the Michter's table, and this is all they had left from the day. But if you look back in the corner here, here's all the bottles that were killed. And this is why you need to prioritize which tables to stop at first, because they do have a limited supply of some bottles and they do run out quickly. Like you can see here, they had the Michter's 10 Bourbon, 10 Rye. I think that's the Toasted Bourbon, Barrel Strength Rye, the Shanks, and the Bombers. Those are a ton of bottles that I would have loved to try, but I just didn't get here in time. So I highly recommend once you get to this event, open the brochure and look at all the booths that you want to hit and go in order from your favorite to your least favorite. That way you definitely hit the booths that you're most interested in. The last place that we hit at this event was their cellar. This is where they're now selling a lot of their single barrel picks along with the bottles they have for sale. And this is where they have a lot of their private events at Jack Rose. If you ever at Jack Rose, definitely stop by and say hey to Chris here. He runs a lot of their events there, and he has a great wealth of knowledge about all the whiskeys they have on their shelf. He can definitely guide you on a great tasting for when you're there. Highly recommend you talk to him and stop by and say hi. And on top of that, he is super fun to talk to. As mentioned earlier, here are some of the bottles they have in the bottle shop for sale. This was shot a while ago, so the inventory is probably different than it is now, but next time you're at Jack Rose, definitely worth stopping in and seeing if they have any of those single barrel picks, because they have some of the best picks in the DMV area. So should you go to Jack Rose's Premier Drams next year? It is an expensive ticket. I think it was roughly around $200, but it is an emphatic yes for me. This is the best event in the DC area, but when you go, you need to be very pragmatic about your time, because it will run away very quickly if you do not game plan for this. So definitely look at the map when you first get in, try and go to your favorite distilleries first, and then kind of work backwards from there. See if there's any ones that you want to experiment and try, but you do have to be cognizant that you can't drink everything. One, don't have enough time, and two, you just can't drink that much before you really lose the ability to taste the whiskey. So you definitely need to game plan on that front. My second tip is to go to the Willet booth first. That way you avoid the line. It has the longest line of any booth at the event, and it will take you a good 40 minutes to get through that line if that is something you want to do. So definitely go to that booth first. Another tip for the event is, after you kind of game planned what booths you want to go to, definitely do a quick lap of the venue just to see what bottles booths have out. Sometimes they have some really unique pours, and other times it is just kind of their shelf-stable products, and that can also help you game plan about which booths you want to go to. Lastly, definitely spend time and talk to the booths that you're most interested in, because more often than not, these booths have hidden bottles behind the counter that is just not out for everyone. And if you show an expressed interest in the brand and have a nice in-depth discussion with them, they will often bring out pours for you to try specifically, because they want their most emphatic fans to be trying these pours, because they just don't have enough to go around for everyone. So definitely stop by the booths that you're most interested in and just have a nice conversation with them. So that's my recap of Premier Drams this year. But if you want to see the year before, I also made a recap of that video. And if you're enjoying this content, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future videos. And until next time, cheers.